Our first lesson in this unit is on basic flowcharting. Here's an example of a flowchart. And again, a flowchart is just a schematic representation of an algorithm or a process. The word algorithm is just a fancy word to mean steps that you would take to complete a task. So the following flowchart would be an example of what we would do to decide whether or not we need to feed our dog. Okay, notice how there's a start command, then you're doing an action, you're checking the dog's bowl, then you're making a decision. If the bowl is empty, you're going to put food in it, and then you're going to stop. If the bowl wasn't empty, then you would skip straight to the stop. Okay, again, here's just a flowchart, a way to show what kind of steps are taking place. Hopefully you noticed that each step in the flowchart had a different shape. The shapes that are used in a flowchart are pretty universal, and they all mean something different. So you can tell just by the shape of the step in the flowchart what's taking place. Okay, let's go through each of those individually. Okay, at the very beginning, or I guess the end, is the start. Notice how it's a rounded rectangle. Okay, a start is required in all flowcharts. You have to tell the program to begin. But some flowcharts don't have an end. Okay, those that would keep repeating or be some kind of an infinite loop don't have an end to them. But either the start or the end all have the same basic shape. A process is shaped rectangular. Okay, this is where the action of the verbs are going to be part of. Okay, so for example, you could add one. That's a process. Turn the motor on, turn the light off, rotate the part. All of those require some kind of an action, so you'd use a rectangle in your flowchart. If it's an input or an output, it's a parallelogram. Okay, this tells us that some kind of a manual operation is needed. So for example, you could type in the weight, you could check the balance, you could time something. Okay, you'll be using the inputs and outputs a lot as we kind of go through this unit. Okay, think about the activity you just completed with all of the different resistors that you plugged into either your I ports or your M ports. When you go to program, those are the types of things that you would have on your input or output shape in your flowcharts. Anytime a decision needs to be made, you're going to use a rhombus. Okay, with the rhombus, the outcome is either yes or no. So you're asking some kind of a question. So if you look at the examples, you could ask the question, is this number larger than 10? If the answer is yes, you're going to go one direction. If the answer is no, you're going to go a different direction. Okay, you could ask the question, does the weight meet specifications? Has the count been reached? Any type of a question would belong in a decision shape. Part of the flowchart is the use of arrows. Again, the arrows are going to indicate the direction that each of the steps is going to go. The arrows is always drawn from the output of one block to the input of another. Again, showing the direction that the flowchart is going to go. You only have one arrow representing an output, but you can have multiple arrows leading into an input. Okay, here's an example that we're going to do together. Okay, so let's say the problem was count from 1 to 9 by odd numbers. Okay, before we draw the flowchart, we need to figure out what we want the output to be. Okay, the first block is always going to be you guessed it, a start block. Okay, so let's begin. The output that we want is either going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. Again, we're counting by odds. Okay, start block is always first, so there it is. The program is going to begin with a number 1, so I need to start with the input. Okay, so I'm going to start the program, then I'm going to look at the input. Okay, the program is going to state what that number is. After it does that, okay, then I need to add by 2. So then I'm going to put in another, basically, action block. Okay, notice how it's a rectangle. Okay, I'm adding 2 again because we're doing odd numbers. After I give the input, say the number, add 2, we need to make a decision. Okay, notice the decision is the number greater than 9? If the answer is no, then I need to go back, say the number, add 2, and then check again. If the answer was yes, then we're going to end the program. Okay, so again, look at that flowchart. We stop. We've got our input value. We're going to say the number. We're going to add 2 so that we have odd numbers. Then we're going to make a decision. If the number is greater than 9, we stop. If it's not, we repeat the process. Okay, now it's your turn. For homework, I want you to create a flowchart using the proper symbols, arrow direction, all of that portrays the following. You're going to pick up an object from a bin, test the weight. Does the object weigh 50 kilograms or more? So you're going to make a decision. If it's yes, you're going to put it in a bin called heavy. If not, you're going to put it in a bin called light. Then you want to repeat this process 3 times. Again, bring this in for homework next time and we'll check and see how you do.